Okay, this is now the turn of July 1939. On this turn, all of the countries that are not at wartime income have the ability to start rolling dice to increase their income. So, you can see those giant stacks of cash there in the back. Well, kind of giant. The French only have 35. But that's 6 turns worth of collecting for them. And that's 6 turns worth of collecting for the British, along with their starting money. What the Germans have there is just what they collected last turn, and everything they've spent they've placed on the board. Now, the reason for this is, like I said, the French could be moving that navy all over the place. They could have some crazy plan to stack up down here, stack up there. They could be moving these guys up there. They could be moving that guy from over here on the transport all the way over here and into Paris. You never know, or Syria, or Madagascar, who knows, right? Or they could be building a factory somewhere because they have a feeling that Paris is going to fall. Maybe they want to build a factory here in case it turns into their capital, or maybe they're doing something else. That's a common thing, but you never know. If the Vichy rule happens, that may become a Vichy factory, which doesn't really help the French any. But we'll see. So, same thing with the British. They have been building, I think they got like $90 or $100 worth of collected money. I could be totally off there. I'm kind of just guessing. Just kind of spitballing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, $92 is how much they've been able to collect if Germany has been annexing from turn 1. And nobody else has done anything to get them excited like the Italians or the Japanese. Now this is kind of a good turn to go. Personally, I like to attack the next turn. And I have not mentioned this here. You may have been Lend-Leasing there, so this may take you an extra turn to get built as I've shown up there. You may have been having to drop an infantry a turn or two down here. Maybe you gave them a sub instead of building your own sub. You know, it depends on what your plan was, or maybe you bought them a plane. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to assume that $24 you may have spent somewhere else. So you're going to take an extra turn, possibly, to get going. Plus, this gives you the opportunity to let the French collect more money because they're going to roll to increase their income and collect that increase of income, but not spend it because they can't this turn. So, what I would do after doing this, should you have not done any other Lend-Leases to anyone, you got a lot of options here. One thing you could do with this $24 is say you spend $12 on 3 artillery, or you buy 6 artillery. The main reason I'm saying artillery is you are trying to kill as much of the blue and this dark green here as you can in the same turn. Now, if you throw a bunch of artillery on here, it's going to be, 2 or 3 rolling. If you pair them up, it'll be either 2s or 3s attacking stuff that's going to be defending at 2 or 4, right? Odds are not very good. On this side, so you buy that, or you could say buy a strategic bomber. I believe those are 12. And then you got $12 back, so you can buy another one. Now, why would you do that? Maybe you want to bomb these 2 factories up here. Or maybe you just want to carpet bomb this stuff. Or maybe instead of doing that, you buy, say, a tactical and a fighter. And then you got this $3 left over, so you buy another airborne, or you buy an infantry, or whatever. The opportunities for you to spend your money now are endless. Or you buy some transports and some Marines. $16 will get you transports. So let's break this up. $16 will get you transports. You got $3 left over. Just take these 4 infantry if you wish, or buy a new one. It's up to you. So that math is not correct. 10 does not turn into 215. Okay, so $16. I knew this worked out. $16 for 2 transports, and then $8 for 2 Marines. Right? And from there, you got 2 Marines. You can start, depending on what's going on here, hit that. Throw in the airborne. Now you got 3 transports total, right? From here, you can scoop guys out of there. It's up to you. Just remember, you take this, and the British just relocate their capital. But if you can blockade this, you're better off. All right, I'll show that in the British video, though, because it's the British worst nightmare. All right, so there you go. You got your $24. Spend it as you wish. The reason I like waiting till next turn, so the French have had this, right? So you assume that they've spent this all. Now, let's get one die here. This one's fairly easy to read. Yeah, this one's the easiest one to read. Okay, so it's the French turn. Now let's take a look at the French card. The French. France. Alright. Rearmament. Oh, they only roll a D6 per turn until reaching wartime income of 17. But they start at 5, right? So, I gotta have the wrong kind of dice. So you grab yourself a D6 and you go, okay, what's it gonna be? Hey, the French go up $5. So they go from 5 to 10. Guess what happens? The French will now have $10 in their pocket that they can't spend. You know what happens when you take Paris? You get their money. You know what I mean? So that's just an example. But, you know. Also, another thing with this, you do not want to attack too early. You want to allow your friend, the Japanese, to be ready. And you wanted to have at least all these ones on the coast here, which are worth a bonus $1 each for each single one. +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, +6 in wartime bonuses. Plus the face value of this. And be able and ready to start attacking the FEC. Or down here, the Australians. Because the French will, and the British and the FEC and Anzac will all be at full income when you pull the trigger as Germany. You may need to wait an extra turn. That's okay. I mean, the French are just going to have a little bit, $5 extra, maybe $6 extra worth of units on the board, but you're going to have either 24 or 48 extra dollars on the board. So figure it out. My favorite time is whenever it's good for Japan, for Germany to pull the trigger. Personally, July 1939 or January 1940 is best for Germany. July 1939, I pause. January 1940 is my personal sweet spot. And yeah, I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to possibly do another series here showing what happens after you take France. Ground war strategy here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to build 2 artillery. I'm not going to, I did show all my ground combat moves already in the first video, so I'll just leave that there. I'm going to build 2 artillery and I'm going to put them over here. I know that seems strange, but that's what I'm doing. I'm also going to build 4 mechs. Now I'm not going to use 4 mechs. What I'm going to do is I already got these stacks here, so I'm going to take 1 green off, or 1 white off, and replace it with this 3 counter. So now I have 5 mechs up here, and I'll do the same thing down in this location here. All right. Okay, there we go. Now I have 5 mechs to match my 5 tanks in both locations. Let's see what the French are doing. And that is really what's going to affect the German strategy right now. What is France doing? Because France is the one that can be problematic. Because it depends on what they're doing as to whether you attack it. So, let's say you don't attack it this turn. Alright, done. Now, you're going to collect your $24 again. I spent it all, so I'm just going to leave it there. I will, the French are at $35. So let's assume they're at 40 bucks. Next turn. Oh no, let's assume the worst. They spend their $35 over all the previous turns, and they have managed to buy 2 stacks of 5 infantry. Let's just assume they stick them here, and that's a little too much for there because I got threat on both spots here. So let's just do some craziness here, and we will take the other 5, and we'll say throw 3 guys up here and another 2 down here. So that'll be a white and green. All right. Now I don't know what they're doing. There's 2 ways the French can defend themselves or can lose Paris. I either take everything around it, or I take Paris itself. So if they really stack Paris, you skip Paris and you go around. If they really stack the outside, you break a hole in it and you just take the candy in the wrapper. So it's really dependent on what they do. Sometimes a French player will be thinking very conservatively, and instead of building all this stuff here, they'll be using this transport to haul as much stuff out as they can. They'll fly these planes away, hoping that somewhere it will become not Vichy and they can keep the planes. Knock on the tower over here. All right, so those are some options. I'm just going to leave that there because that's the most conservative thing they could do. And they could also build a militia, so let's just throw one of those up here. All right, French are now out of money. Let's assume, worst case scenario for Germany. I need to move my camera and I cannot reach you. Okay, so let's assume worst case scenario for Germany. Your money is not changing, but all the allies did. So let's just assume these guys are at 14. They rolled a 12. Just because it's the worst thing that could happen. Well, their income maxes out at 24, so you're tied. Okay. The French roll a 6 because that's the highest they can get. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're up at 11, right? You know what? Let's also assume the Russians did the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. So 1, 2, from 8 up 12. So let's move them up to 20. And the Americans will also say they rolled a 12 just because they can. Oops. So from 6 to 8, and then another 10 to 18. So that is the worst case scenario in this turn. We now move the turn tracker up, and we'll see what happens.